speculation has been rife this week as to which tiara Kate will wear when she walks down the aisle this Friday. And the consensus seems to have settled on something that everyone is calling the George III Russian Fringe tiara, and that's Fringe, F-R-I-N-G-E. This tiara is one of the oldest in the British Royal Collection, and to my mind is the most pretty. It was made in the 1830s from several loose diamonds that were owned by George III. Yes, that George III, but he's for another clip. And Queen Victoria first wore the tiara to an opera in 1839. This tiara can also double as a necklace. When the band is put in it, it stands upright as a tiara, and it looks very similar to the diadems often worn by Russian tsarinas, hence the name Russian Fringe tiara. And it is from the diamonds from George III that it gets its other name, the George III tiara. However, the band in the tiara can be taken out, and it can then be worn as a necklace where it takes on more of a fringe or even a sunburst formation. And in her will, Queen Victoria described the tiara as a fringe necklace. The tiara made its way down the generations of the British royal family and eventually ended up with Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, who in 1936, when she was crowned along with her husband George VI, she wore the tiara to one of the after parties after the coronation, where someone remarked that she had had on an ugly old spiked tiara. I don't think that was very kind, because it certainly does not do that tiara justice. The tiara, though, is most famous as a bridal tiara and has been worn by at least 2 princesses of the royal family since that time. In 1947, Queen Elizabeth loaned the tiara to her daughter, who was then Princess Elizabeth, for her walk down the aisle with Prince Philip. And it was then that the tiara almost sparked a royal disaster. The band in the tiara snapped as Princess Elizabeth was getting ready for her wedding, and the court jewelers, the Gerards, couldn't make the repairs on the spot and had to go back to their workshop to solder the band back together. The problem was getting through the wedding day crowds back to the workshop, doing the repairs, and then getting back to the palace on time. The King of Norway, who was a cousin of the British royal family, understood the problem and lent the jewelers a Norwegian embassy car so that they could make their way through the crowds, get the tiara repaired, and back to the princess on time for her ride to the Abbey and then up the aisle. In 1973, the Queen Mother loaned the tiara to Princess Anne for her marriage to Captain Mark Phillips. The tiara stayed intact, and Princess Anne was able to get the tiara back to her grandmother all in one piece. And no doubt Kate will be just as responsible with this beautiful piece of jewelry. If the Queen does in fact loan that tiara to Kate Middleton for her walk down the aisle, it would certainly be a very intimate and very personal gesture from the Queen to her new granddaughter-in-law, being that it was the tiara the Queen wore at her wedding day and the tiara that her daughter wore at her wedding day. It would certainly signal, I think, that Kate is considered by the royal family to be one of them. And personally, again, it being my favorite, I hope that's the one she chooses.